And I'm sitting there doing the comms thinking, if this happens again, I think I'm going to cry.
You didn't really get turned over that much last season, but when he was missing, that's when we went missing. So that narrative about Cole Palmer going missing is nonsense.
He's going to have to get used to special attention.
Yeah.
Why? Because he's a special player. CAICEDO and LAVIA, I can't think of a better two in the Premier League right now than those two. He is now starting to emerge as one of those leaders on the pitch. He looks like a captain. He plays like a captain.
When you look at it on the face of it, Robert Sanchez is a good goalkeeper. Got the height, can come for crosses, is okay with the ball at his feet, but it doesn't all come together.
He needs to be better, and he'll know that. These little individual errors are costing us, and when you're a goalkeeper, they cost you dearly.
And Arsenal fans coming up to me and telling me about their 15 goals conceded, they're going to break our record.
Oh.
In recent games, Arsenal can't stop conceding goals. They are leaking goals right now.
I'm almost inclined to play Cucurella at left back.
Yeah.
And say to Arsenal, we're going to cause you more problems than you're going to cause us.
I mean,
Frankie's
Yeah,
after us.
Yeah, we'll have a little debrief in Frankie's. Yeah, good shout. Welcome to Inside Chelsea, the show for Chelsea fans by Chelsea fans. I'm Olivia Buzaglo, and once again, I'm joined by former Chelsea defender Jason Cundy and broadcaster and lifelong Chelsea fan Kweku Afari. Now, we are, of course, off the back of a 1-1 draw with Manchester United at Old Trafford. You can tell by the tone of my voice, Jace, I said on this show last week that I wouldn't take a point away at Old Trafford. And given the way the game went, I should be happy with the point, but I'm not. I'm putting it out there, I'm not happy with the point. What were your feelings after that?
Do you know what? I came away with it disappointed, but not unhappy with the point, because I think you've got to reflect on the way that the club was dealt with Manchester United. Ruud came in, got a big win in the League Cup against Leicester. The club was buoyant. Everyone talks about a new manager bounce, right? We don't get that yet. I think they've got the old manager bounce because Ten Hag has gone. And I think a lot of the Man United fans wanted him gone. He's left, and I think we come up against really a tricky situation. Had we played their last week before Ten Hag left, I think we win the game. I think you've got to give Ruud a little bit of credit. They suffocate the midfield. They didn't do what Leicester did the week before, give Cole Palmer and Jackson huge amounts of space. They sat deep. When they pressed, it wasn't that impressive either. I think they made life difficult. They got bodies back. They nullified us. It was, both played 4-2-3-1. No side really controlled the game for long periods. They had spells, we had spells. They had chances, we had chances. On reflection, Liv, I actually feel 1-1 draw was a fair result. And do you know what? In those last moments, I felt, we'll talk about the Martinez sending off in a second, but that last corner, I'm sitting there thinking, please don't let there be a repeat of what Cole Palmer did on a corner when we won 4-3. And I'm sitting there doing the comms thinking, if this happens again, I think I'm going to cry. Honestly, I swear I thought if they do to us what we did to them at Stamford Bridge, I think I'm going to cry, because a draw on that night would have been a fair result. And we got it. I'll take a point. On reflection now, I think it's a fair result. Both sides didn't just do enough to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's still frustrating, Kweku. Are you as frustrated as I am, or are you somewhere in the middle?
No, I was frustrated. Jake's being more logical about it, and that's probably the right way to be. Yeah. But I can't help but think, given our poor record at Old Trafford, this was the ample opportunity to beat them. And I understand the new manager bounce of Ruud Van Nistelrooy.
The old manager bounces, right?
The old manager bounce.
That is it, the old manager bounce.
And they kind of, after the result against Leicester in the League Cup, they were kind of going like that. And after our flat performance against Newcastle, we were kind of plateauing. So it made sense that the game was a draw. It's the most drawn game in Premier League history. But I just felt like, looking at teams going and playing Manchester United at Old Trafford, look at Liverpool. Of course, Liverpool are on a different level to us right now when they're 1-3-0. Look at the Spurs. We're better than Spurs when they took it to Manchester United. Granted, Erik ten Hag was the X factor in terms of the way he set his team up and the way the opposition took him on. But I just think there was an opportunity to go and beat Manchester United at Old Trafford for the first time in 11 years. And after the game, on reflection and on the balance of the game, the draw was a fair result. But pre-match, I'm similar to you, Liv. I would have expected to win, especially against a team that's struggling in the bottom half of the table.
What did I say? I said, if we don't beat them there, we never will. And I stand by that, because I felt like it just felt, Kweku, like an opportunity missed. Yeah. It felt like the way, I know you say we were, plateauing after that performance against Newcastle, and Manchester United, I mean, they beat Barnsley, like 7-0 in the League Cup under Ten Hag. So I don't think that Leicester performance, but it just felt like, we could have really cemented our place, or at least shown everyone a little bit more about what we're about by going third in the league. I mean, currently Forest are third, so I don't know how much that says about the Premier League right now, but it just feels like a big opportunity missed. And can you put your finger on why Chelsea weren't up to it? Because it felt like that's what it felt like. We just didn't get going.
I don't know what you think, Jace. I feel like when the game started, it starts off slow. You think maybe it's going to warm up a little bit, but it just never really did. They get their goal from a penalty. We get ours from a wonder strike from CAICEDO, who was amazing on the night. But the game just didn't take off, really. I think an early goal sets off, and then because we're a team so young, it's almost like a youth team. They build that momentum and they get ahead of themselves and they kind of make the game more pacey. But the game was slow from the beginning. It didn't really suit us. It suited them because they had something to protect. They couldn't get turned over by another big team at Old Trafford. And the game was what it was. I think the biggest issue for Chelsea fans, where you have to kind of deal with opposition fans taking the mick, is that's a 4:30 kickoff under the lights at Old Trafford. Everyone's watching it. It's the big game of the weekend. And it's just a bit flat. And that's the thing that bothered me a little bit.
Do you think we were flat, especially up top, Jace? It wasn't quite working. We've seen Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer, we spoke about it, link up so well together. Just felt like something was off for everyone in that front four against United.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too dissimilar, actually, to the game we played against Liverpool. I mean, that could have been 1-1.
Yeah, I think that should have been 1-1, really.
I actually think going away to these big teams now, we are representing the club in a different light. Last year, we got beat by Manchester United. Last season, we got beat by Liverpool convincingly.
Yeah, battered.
I think there's a different tone about us right now. And I think teams are respecting us a little bit more. I think we're going to Old Trafford. Don't forget, Ruud van Nistelrooy doesn't want to lose this game. And I think the way they set up, I think it was quite smart from him. Suffocate the midfield, try and deny Cole Palmer those opportunities. Cole had little impact in that, as Liverpool did, and he's going to have to try and get used to this because he's going to get special attention. But there were moments in the game, and the big moment I felt where we really did let ourselves down. We had a 4v3, and Cole Palmer, who normally makes the right call in those, they defended it well. I've watched it back several times. They stayed quite narrow, the three. Eventually, I think it was Jackson out on the left, and I think Cole has got to shape up for the shot and lay him in. Don't give him the eyes, and I think Jackson gets a shot on target. But in all honesty, neither side deserved to win. Going to Old Trafford is never a bad point. I know you mentioned there that Liverpool had gone there and Spurs gone. That's under Ten Hag. This was a different feel. The atmosphere was different. The fans felt different, and the players felt different.
I mean, we had a chat about where Cole Palmer is in terms of best players in the Premier League, Kweku. I mean, like Jay says, teams are going to do this to him now. Teams are going to focus on him. We saw it happen with Liverpool and Curtis Jones. He got almost nullified again against Manchester United. Obviously, we know he's still one of the best players, but in terms of the level that we're used to seeing from him, he did struggle a little bit in that game.
He did. He had some lovely touches, and you can see, just on the eye, Cole Palmer is one of the best players in the Premier League. And I'm not going to waver from the fact that he's one of the best, but it was a very definitive conversation people wanted to have before these games against Liverpool and Manchester United about him being the clear best. We saw, again, this is not a Liverpool show, so I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but we saw Mo Salah's goal against Brighton.
I love Mo Salah.
Get
over it.
It's just a left-footed forward that's done in the Premier League for years and years. But Cole Palmer should look at that in terms of the consistency. Whenever you tune into a big game, Mo Salah's doing something. And I'm not going to blame Cole Palmer at all for this performance, because I think the issue with that in big games comes from a little bit deeper. When you don't have Enzo Fernandez, a player that's been much derided by not just Chelsea fans, but opposition fans as well, you lack something. I think CAICEDO and LAVIA are great in that double pivot, but pick your poison. It's not poison, pick your potion. In terms of, if you drop Enzo Fernandez, what happens is you don't have somebody pushing up to be that dual 10 with Cole Palmer. When Enzo plays, you have the inverted fullback who goes into midfield, and then you have Enzo who pushes up next to Cole Palmer as a dual 10. You give the opposition more to think about. When Enzo doesn't play, Cole Palmer's the sole creativity in that team. And so you've seen us struggle in recent weeks to being creative in that final third when Enzo doesn't play. That's not me saying that I think that LAVIA should be dropped, or I think CAICEDO can't be dropped. But I feel like we've just got an issue then when it comes to creativity in big games, and that might hamper Cole Palmer.
do you think he goes, there is this narrative that Cole Palmer potentially goes missing in big games. I mean, I don't agree with that at all in the slightest, but is there something to, look at and go, maybe he does go missing in big games?
What a lazy narrative.
Yeah,
he's not even into his second year of first-team football.
It's not even into a year and a half of first-team
He's
football.
not. This is his second year of playing regular first-team football. He's 22 years of age. He scored at Old Trafford last season. I know he got beat.
He scored twice against them, a hat-trick against them in the return.
I think that what's happened is because Cole Palmer has been so good, he scored 21 goals in 21 appearances at Stamford Bridge. And teams will come now, and he's got to get used to this. And there's a club, and Maresca's got to try and find a way. They will look to stop him. We have enough quality in that team. If he is nullified, how else do we create? He is the best creator in the team. There's no doubt about that. But to start saying he goes missing in big games, have a day off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous because he's still very much in the infancy of his career. The boy is a He played, second half, there was a couple of balls where we changed, we'll talk about this, where Gusto goes off and Cucurella plays that inverted fullback, then then's the second 8. The times that he gets the ball out and he looks and he sprays that pass out, whether it's to Mudryk in the first half, I think Neto started the second half, sprays it out, plays the ball into Cucurella. If we end up scoring from one of those chances, we're sitting here saying it's the pass before the pass again. He's very much a part of that. But he's going to have to get used to special attention. Yeah. Why? Because he's a special player.
He's a special player, and I don't think he really cares about having to deal with that, and I'm sure he will deal with that.
He'll get himself out of tights.
Yeah.
There's that touch you're talking about.
Oh, my God.
He's on the back foot, and he draws in both Rashford and Casemiro. And as he's on the back foot, he plays it. And you try and leave Rashford for dead. Yeah. That ain't easy.
It is so good.
He's got the awareness. I'm not the least bit concerned about him.
When he does it in real time, when he takes that touch, I'm like, oh, that's a heavy touch. And then he glides past Rashford. I'm like, your spatial awareness, your ability on the ball, your ability with the ball at your feet, we haven't seen many players like that at Stamford Bridge. When I take my mind back again, we talked about it last week, and Eden Hazard reminds you of that. Gianfranco Zola, those players with magic in their boots, they're special. And I think this narrative about him going missing in big games is just lazy. Off the top of my head, I remember scoring against City last year, against Spurs last year, against Manchester United last year, against Arsenal last year.
That's 4 of the traditional.
Against the biggest teams. This is just, it's absolute nonsense. Do you know what tells you the biggest thing about Cole Palmer? When he was missing for the game at the Emirates against Arsenal, we got absolutely turned over. Yeah. We didn't really get turned over that much last season, but when he was missing, that's when we went missing. So that narrative about Cole Palmer going missing is nonsense.
Yeah, it is. Now, another player, one player who shone for us in that game. And to be honest, he shone the whole of this season. He shone for large parts of last season. And people still wanted to pick up on him because of the price tag. Moises Caicedo, not only did he score an absolute worldie, but just, Jace, talk to me about Moises Caicedo, because he has been on a journey since joining from Brighton. It's been tough for him. He's openly said that himself. But the place he's got to now, I mean, I said, when we signed him, I said, you don't worry about Moises Caicedo. He will be fine. He will repay that big fee. I have no doubt about it. And I feel like now we're starting to see why we've spent all that money on Moises Caicedo.
Look, we've been a very strange football club the last 2 years, right? There's been so much change.
To say the least.
It has been seismic, the club, from where we were 2.5 years ago to where we are now. And a lot of players came in during that period for huge money, and it must have been so difficult to settle because the club was in such turmoil, is probably not the right word, but there was such seismic change.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Upstairs, the bench, the squad. And what we're starting now to see, and I think Maresca needs a huge amount of credit, we're starting to see a settled team. We're now starting to see the team, what it looks like on paper, what we all start to pick. There might be 2 or 3 players we might not choose in certain areas, but largely, we're now likely to see a settled team. Moises Caicedo, I said last week, is the best in his position right now in the league. Rodri, people talked about, well, he's not fit, right? Yeah. So there's the caveat to that. Right now, Moises Caicedo is the legs, the energy. He's a little bit of a hybrid between N'Golo Kante and someone that can... He closes space down. In fact, he is like a... Because he squeezes the pitch high. People think that N'Golo Kante was a defensive midfielder. He wasn't. He was a box-to-box midfielder. But what he does in that zone, where he protects the back 4, but also he goes and bites. And he bites with LAVIA. They bite together. They're like a little tandem. They go in. He is remarkable. The energy levels, there was the corner that they nearly scored from right at the end. He cuts that out, that gives the corner away. He's chasing back in beyond our back four. His lungs, his energy, his quality on the ball. There was the couple of passes between him and Lavia. We've got a real partnership between the pair, but Moises Caicedo right now, he could go on and be Chelsea's best player this season.
Yeah.
How about that finish as well, by the way?
Incredible. Yeah. And do you remember the Spurs game last season? He finished from outside the box. He's got a shot on him.
Oh, that was so annoying, and that got disallowed. I mean, I know the penalty got given, didn't it, after for the foul on Enzo, but that was a worldie that he got robbed of.
He's just, he's given us everything that we expected when we signed him.
Yeah.
And with these type of players, they're always going to get, I won't say tarnished, but they're going to be weighed down by the price tag. But he shifted that weight.
No one mentions it.
No one mentions
the price tag.
That's
they do with
the
Enzo,
key,
but they don't
isn't
with him.
No, because he's just giving it all, and his performances are so well-rounded. Like you say, he's not just a defensive midfielder. He's just a midfielder, and I think this day and age we get caught up in being very specific about roles. He is a midfielder, and he's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, and he deserves all the credit in the world because when those big moves don't go right, and we've seen it at Chelsea so many times in terms of big money players coming in and not starting off well and it not really recovering. He's recovered, and more than recovered, he's now one of our best players. Behind Cole Palmer, he's the second name on the team sheet.
That was so weird. You took the words out of my mouth. I was literally going to say, apart from Cole Palmer, is he the first name on the team sheet? So, Jace, with that midfield, obviously we're looking at going, him and Lavia are a very good midfield together. Obviously, you miss some of Enzo's creativity, so that's where it becomes difficult. But does Enzo Maresca have any other choice but to play these two together right now?
No. He has to play them. And just going back to what we're saying, where there's often a criticism about this Chelsea team about not having a leader, he is now starting to emerge as one of those leaders on the pitch. And I think that's really important because he's not just doing his job, but he looks like a captain. He plays like a captain. And I think that's something this squad has missed since we've seen Azpilicueta lead, Cover leave, Giroud, those old experienced players since the new regime's come in. He now looks like a real leader. But going back to your question, Lavia and him right now in Chelsea's best position, so it's just Chelsea's best team, they are the pivot. They're the two. They link up well. Enzo Fernandez has got a real problem right now, and that's why he will start against Noah in midweek, because he won't start against Arsenal.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And where you look at I think the weakest part of our team, I think it will improve, is our defence. And so you need that strong double pivot in front of them to offer the protection. Yes, we lose a little bit going forward. Enzo Fernandez, despite the fact he has been derided this season, in the Brighton game, he was great with those first-time balls over the top. I don't think Lavia and Caicedo have quite got that. But in terms of protection, in terms of the tandem, in terms of that telepathy where they know what the other one's going to do, yeah, second to none. They're great players. We know, I remember Lavia playing for Southampton against Chelsea, and then we tried to sign him off the back of it. He's a player that's very, very talented. We've been watching him for a little while, and we managed to get him fit now, and he's playing football regularly. But Caicedo is the driving force, the engine in that midfield. And I feel very lucky to have him, because again, it could be one of those big money signings that didn't go well, but in the Premier League, there's not many better than him.
Name a better two.
There's not.
Name a better two. Well, if there are some out there ain't many.
I mean, name a better one other than Rodri in the Premier League, and Rodri's not fit. So
people talk Declan Rice. Declan's been brilliant for Arsenal.
But I don't think Declan Rice plays that same role.
No, he doesn't.
But if he did, I don't think there would be a comparison. I think Moises Caicedo would be on another level.
But right now, Caicedo and Lavia, I can't think of a better two in the Premier League right now than those two.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I mean, Kweku, you said that our issues perhaps lie with the defence and the goalkeeper. I mean, we'll get onto the goalkeeper in just a second, because that is a topic we, of course, need to talk about. But first of all, we had a chat on this show last week about Reece James playing at left back, Malo Gusto playing at right back, no Marc Cucurella. What happened after 45 minutes against Manchester United? Enzo Maresca realised that, no, Reece James has got to play right back and Cucurella's got to play left back. Talk to me about that Malo Gusto performance, please.
Well, I don't really know, because I couldn't go to the game, unfortunately, so I was watching at home, and Gary Neville, towards the end of the first half, said that Malo Gusto was our best player. Honestly, I had to go on Twitter and check if I was losing my mind or not, because It was one of the worst performances I've seen from Malo Gusto in a Chelsea shirt. And let's remember that last season where we were struggling at the beginning of it, he looked like one of the only signings that was really working out. He's been great in a Chelsea shirt.
Yeah.
But on the weekend, that was one of his poorest performances. We're in a group chat being like,
No, I wasn't. And I'm not in agreement.
Yeah. Okay, so what?
I'm not in agreement.
So you think that was a good first half performance from Malo Gusto?
I think that the criticism of Malo Gusto is totally out of order. And I'll tell you why. Okay. Malo Gusto is asked to do a job, right? He's a natural right back. Yeah. He's now asked to come inside and be a number 8. He was in support. Our main attacks come down the right side. If we were going to score, it wasn't going to be on the left-hand side with Neto. He was in support of Madueke out on that right-hand side. From that side, the problem you've got is his quality in those areas. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. He gets there. He gets to the byline. His support play was good. The reason he got taken off is because he picked up a booking. That booking was a brilliant tactical foul. I thought Malo Gusto gets way too much criticism. I actually thought he played well. What you're talking about is his final pass and his final decision, right? That's it. His support play, his energy levels. I thought he played well. I thought the criticism was way over the top.
Really?
Genuinely. I don't think
genuinely, I thought it was over the top.
I don't think it's perhaps maybe the worst. Like, Malo Gusto has largely been brilliant for Chelsea. However, when you've got Reece James on the left-hand side, I know you want, like, Gusto was like bombing down the right-hand side, but he also found himself in a number 10 role a lot of the time. And for whatever reason, like you say, his final ball was off, but every attack just seemed to then come to nothing. If you want Reece James, if you want anyone in that position, it's Reece James, because we know how good his final ball is.
OK, let me ask you this. Why do you think Reece James hasn't played that role yet?
He's playing within himself a little bit.
Why?
Because of the injury.
Right. Maresca is managing him.
Yes.
He's managing him. So when Reece went over to the other side, where do we attack?
But why? What,
down the left.
Down the left.
Because Cucurella's making...
But what I can't understand is why not just play Reece James at right back and play Cucurella at left back from the start?
Right, fine. That's fair. That's fair. But what I'm saying is there's a reason why Gusto does that job on the right and supports Madueke. Second half, Reece James is more reserved. He's managing his hamstrings. He's managing the injury. He's playing one game a week. What you think about the work rate that Malo Gusto got through in that first half. He's up on that right-hand side. The foul he gives away, I think it might have been Agate that gives the foul away. He's sprinting back. Do you want Reece James up and down, up and down, up and down? No.
I want Cucurella up and down, up and down, up and down.
Fine. Second half, we got that. So there's where you can say, did Maresca get it right with the first team selection? I think there's an argument to say, no, he didn't. But the reason that I think he takes him off is because Gusto's got a yellow card.
Do you think?
He can't, yeah.
Do you think without the yellow card, he stays on?
I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's an easy decision to make. But then you look at what Reece has done. I've not seen Reece in the final third, other than a set piece all season. Maresca deserves credit for managing the injury. He said he can play one game a week. Now, he's only come back. What's he now played? 3 games.
3 90 minutes. Right. Yeah, he's played. Right. Oh, has he played?
When was the last time he had 3 90 minutes?
Yeah, in a row. Yeah.
So I think we need to look at the whole situation. Say Maresca is managing Reece James, and he's deliberately not using him in the same way. Look, every Chelsea fan out there in that final third, who would you rather have, Malo Gusto or Reece? We'll say Reece, but then he's got to get back and he's got to get forward. Cucurella can do that.
But that's my point, is that you're saying he's managing his minutes, which he is, and I think he's done that very, very well in terms of the position that he's playing. However, if he plays on the right, you still have that same thing that you had on the right with Malo Gusto, but you just got it on the left with Marc Cucurella. And to be perfectly honest, from what I've seen from them in those attacking positions, I would much rather Marc Cucurella playing that role than Malo Gusto.
I agree. And that's where, again, I think that Malo Gusto shouldn't have started left back. I think that Marc Cucurella should have. But you have to give Maresca credit, because one thing I've seen from him, and you don't really see it in managers, do you know when you're sitting at home, and we're not qualified, we haven't played the game Jace has. But when you're a fan, you say, I want the manager to make this substitution. More times than not, Maresca will make the substitution. He's very proactive.
Yeah.
He doesn't sit on his laurels. He sees it, he assesses it, and if he thinks he can make a change, he'll make a change. So he deserves credit for making that change. But I think from our point of view, where we're coming from, is that we think Marc Cucurella should have started. He's clearly seen something else in terms of he wants Gusto to be in that position. And it's interesting, like you always say, Jace, the midweek games are big tells. If Mark Cucurella starts midweek against Noah, we know that on the weekend it's probably going to be Malo Gusto again.
Well, Cucurella played the whole 90 minutes.
Against Newcastle, the League Cup, yeah.
So you can almost get a little bit of a portal into what Maresca's thinking or the team that he's considering. So once that decision was made to play Cucurella for 90 minutes, the decision was already made for his... It's almost like he picks the team for Manchester United first, and then he goes back and says, right, how can I play against Newcastle?
Yeah.
And I think what we'll see the midweek against Noah, he'll pick his team against Arsenal, and he'll go back and he'll pick his team against
Okay,
Noah.
so
I think that's what we'll look at.
Who are the starting fullbacks against Arsenal then?
It will be Reece James at right back and it'll be Mark Cucurella at left back, in my opinion.
I
Almost
agree.
certainly.
I think so.
Almost certainly.
But isn't that quite refreshing?
Hopefully.
Because how many times have we sat here as Chelsea fans under different managers who've done decent enough jobs and you've been baffled by the selections, you've been baffled by the picks. But now we're sitting here and observing it as Chelsea fans and people who follow the team very closely, we're like, okay, this is what he's going to do. And more times than not, he does do it. And what he also deserves credit for, Maresca, is that at the beginning of the season, if you ask 100 Chelsea fans to give you their best starting 11, I'm telling you, you have 100 different answers. Right now, it's one or two tweaks, one or two changes, and that's imperative for a team that's chasing success. You need to know what your best 11 is, and Maresca's in a short amount of time, with a lot of players to pick from, has established that.
I think we're getting there. I think he's getting there. I think he's finally seeing this. I don't think we can underestimate, Reece James, managing him, keeping him fit between now, because we know how busy the schedule's going to be between now and New Year, right?
Yeah.
Get him through there. If we got a fit Reece James come the beginning of January, Maresca needs a huge amount of credit because we haven't seen that in years.
I'm going to say no manager has been able to do that, have they, with Reece James? I mean, you talk about now that Maresca, has his starting 11, he has his best team, give or take a few players. Now, one player who is definitely in that first team is Robert Sanchez. And this is a topic that we need to talk about. Gave away the penalty. Soft, I would say. But still, when you give a referee a decision to make, when you make contact, you're probably going to give away a penalty. I mean... Kweku.
Why are you laughing so much?
It was Kweku.
Sorry, I didn't even need to ask a question. I just said Kweku.
Your body language is hilarious.
What do you want me to say?
I don't even want to ask a question. I just want you to tell me your thoughts on the Robert Sanchez situation.
Okay, so let's balance out this conversation.
Yeah.
Robert Sanchez has come to Chelsea's rescue in multiple games this season.
Yes, you have to remember that,
The Bournemouth game,
Yeah.
he gives away the penalty. It's a poor pass from Wesley Fofana, gives away a penalty, but then he saves it.
Yeah.
In the Wolves game, comes up with a couple of big saves. In the Nottingham Forest game, huge saves.
Yeah.
So give him credit for that. But he's already given away 2 penalties this season in 10 games. He's given away the ball for crucial goals this season already. He's a goalkeeper that when he came in last season, there was questions. But there was also questions about how was Chelsea going to utilise him. He was dropped at Brighton for Jason Steele. He lost his job last season to Petrovic. He's a keeper that does have qualities. When you look at it on the face of it, Robert Sanchez is a good goalkeeper. Got the height, can come for crosses, is okay with the ball at his feet. But it doesn't all come together. And unfortunately, in high leverage moments, there are errors. The error to give away the penalty, there was no need to be that aggressive. There was no need to bring the player down. There was no need for it. And I think from Chelsea's fans' point of view, we have been very blessed in terms of goalkeepers. From Carlo Cudicini to Petr Cech to Thibaut Courtois. And since Thibaut Courtois, we have been searching for that number one, whether it's Kepa, whether it's Petrovic, whether it's Edouard Mendy, who had a good couple of seasons, or good season and a half before he went missing. We've been searching for that number one keeper. And in my opinion, in the Premier League, if you want to win the biggest trophies, you have to have the keeper who you can trust. And unfortunately, Robert Sanchez this season has given away too many opportunities to the opposition and unfortunately lost us too many points for me to have that trust in him to be our long-term number one goalkeeper.
Jace, I saw someone tweet, I can't remember who it was, saying Chelsea have got a better goalkeeper currently on their books, but he's playing in the Premier League in Kepa.
Right, okay. I mean, we've
not saying I agree with that.
We've got a lot of goalkeepers. Look, if you're giving me Kepa and you're giving me Sanchez and there's a shot from the edge of the box, who do you want in goal?
Oh, I think Kepa's actually quite a good shot stopper, is what I would say.
I'm taking Sanchez.
Oh,
You're taking Sanchez, right?
Ball at his feet.
Ball at his feet, you're taking Kepa, right? There's ball that coming for set pieces, coming to claim it.
No,
you're going to
I'm
go Sanchez. Well, Sanchez. No, I think Sanchez actually. He's pretty good at coming for crosses. So look, it feels like Petrovic has gone on loan, Kepa's gone on loan, Jorgensen is going to be our number 2. We are in a situation right now where lots of money has been spent on the squad, lots of money has been spent on goalkeepers, and right now, Robert Sanchez is Chelsea's number 1 goalkeeper, and they're going to stick with it. They're going to go with it. They've come out publicly and backed him and said they believe he's the right goalkeeper. There is a lot to like about Sanchez as a goalkeeper in the raw terms of what a goalkeeper should do. Yes, he has made some basic errors. The penalty that he gave away against Bournemouth, I have to say I thought Fofana left him short. It was a terrible back pass. And I think he left himself in a situation where he was in no man's land. Terrible back pass, brings him down. Could he do better? Without question. There was also the penalty that wasn't given against Jones at Liverpool.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pen. I've got to be honest.
Did you?
I did.
He did get the ball, though.
He did, but I felt that for me, if it was up the other end, I would want it in favour of it. I thought it was quite a robust challenge, and Jones toes the ball through his legs eventually. Anyway, that's aside. We managed to get that. The goal that Jones scored against Liverpool, right? I felt that incident that we just discussed, I thought was on his mind. He then hesitated. I think he needs to come and smother. Then you fast forward 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you get a scenario where he probably looked at that and felt, could I have done more there to smother the ball, to not Jones get his shot away? And he's got it wrong. Then you've got Højlund, who's going away from goal, and he's made the decision he should have made against Jones. He's getting them mixed up. There's no doubt that he needs to be better, and he'll know that. These little individual errors are costing us. And when you're a goalkeeper, they cost you dearly. The ball at his feet, he's not brilliant, he's okay. But every goalkeeper in the land right now needs to do this. And every goalkeeper is expected to play from the ball at his feet. I actually thought, other than when we gave away the first goal, when Cole Wills turned around at him and said, what part of pass was that? And they capitalised. Casemiro goes to Højlund, he brings it out. These little minute detail, he's got to get right. And the best goalkeepers get the little details right.
Is this just a confidence thing? Like, do you think from now, because like Jay says, Chelsea have come out and said that they're sticking with Robert Sanchez, he is Chelsea's number 1, and they feel he can adapt to Enzo Maresca's style of football. Can you see, based on what you've seen in these first 10 Premier League games, the games that he's played, can you see him adapting a little bit more to this Enzo Maresca style? Because I'm not sure that I can.
Yeah, well, I've given you 3 games where he's been arguably our best player, where he's come up with big saves.
Shot stopping, he's good.
Yeah.
90% of the time I would bank on him making a good big save. Yeah. But sadly, that's not what you need. That is what you need, but you need other things as well. And the way we play, he's got the ball at his feet a lot of the time. And I'm not going to lie, I sit there and...
What are we talking about here? Let's
him just as a goalkeeper in general.
Right. So shot stopping, we're all agreed.
Good.
He's very good.
Yeah.
Okay? Ball at his feet, he could be better, right? It could be better. Okay? But when was the last... Okay. He gave a goal away against Brighton, right? Yeah. Where they latch onto it and they score straight away, right? I'm not seeing as much of those bad passes. I get nervous when the ball's at his feet, I must admit. But I'm not so sure that too many goals are coming from that. My problem right now is those little decision-making, the decisions where the best goalkeepers make the best decisions when you've got so little time to think about it. The ball at his feet, I felt against Newcastle, I thought he was all right.
Yeah.
His balls into Jackson, his balls up to Palmer. And I think what Maresca's got to do, I think he's got to help him. Because if a team squeezes us, he's told by Maresca, you don't go long.
Yeah.
Or you're out the team. Yeah. So imagine being told, Liv, you can't cross your arms, right? But you're told you do that, and you've got to do it in the way that Maresca was. I've seen a mini improvement in his ball at his feet. I'm not saying it's completely ironed out.
I don't know
For me, what he's got to against Man United, I don't remember giving the ball away, not once.
I remember against Liverpool. Now they didn't score from it, but I feel like because the opposition team haven't punished us, that's why you haven't seen more goals scored like the Brighton one. Liverpool, he did. I was in the away end at Anfield, and there was multiple times where under pressure he's given the ball away, and Levi Cole's bailed him out, or Liverpool have messed up the attack, and that's the only reason that they haven't scored.
I'm talking about is he getting better?
I don't know.
I feel as though the mistakes that you're speaking against Liverpool and Brighton were there. I've not seen so many of them.
It was a collective against Newcastle. That opening 25 minutes in the League Cup. Oh my! He wasn't even playing.
But what I will say about him is that his back step, when he received the ball from the defender, say we're playing at the back, his first step is always back, and that invites the press. Whereas the keeper that Maresca played or used at Leicester in Hermansen, his first touch is always forward. His first step is always forward. That pushes you up the pitch 2 or 3 yards, and that changes the mentality and the mindset. Whereas when you've got a keeper who's receiving the ball, is not too comfortable, and is taking a step back, that invites the press and changes the whole emphasis of the team.
Okay, fine. But he can only pass to something that's on. So the back 4 and the midfield 2, they have got to give him options. Now, you think about how different that's looked. He's had Cucurella, he's had Gusto, he's had Colwell, he's had Dizazi, he's had all of these players. I can name, he's had Enzo, he's had Lavia. I think that there needs to be a set team and there needs to be a routine. If your fullback's going wide, or are they coming short?
Yeah.
Because sometimes fullbacks do go wide. Sometimes they support, you see it, inside the box, that pass is there. I think the Maresca's got to give him options and plenty of them.
What's his ceiling, though? Because that's what I'm looking at. Is I'm not just forecasting the Chelsea scene for this season. I'm looking at us trying to compete for the biggest trophies. And when I look at Robert Sanchez, I see a ceiling. I do see a ceiling. Like, I don't know if he
get better, no?
Yeah, he can definitely. He definitely can improve.
But how much? But this is what Kweku is saying. How much better can we get? Is he ever going to be a goalkeeper like Alisson, like Edison, like those sorts of keepers that win you titles?
Well, how many world-class goalkeepers are out there? How many Alisons and Edisons are there?
Well,
Name
there's not,
them.
but I feel like there are probably. I don't even think, Jace. I'm trying not to be disrespectful here, but I think there's Alisson, there's Edison, there's the top goalkeepers. I'm not sure he's even in the bracket below. I think like Vicario, I would probably put in the bracket below that.
Oh, you're joking me.
Especially based off of last season.
He's like an under-18 in goal.
No, last season he was very good.
No,
but I don't think Sanchez is even in that bracket just below them. I think he's a little bit further
with
down.
Keepers, I feel like you can go and find them. Nobody was talking about David Raya as being a top goalkeeper until Arsenal signed him. He's an assistant that works. Emi Martinez was a number 2 at Arsenal, and now he's one of the best keepers in the world. He won best keeper in the world, the Ballon d'Or award.
Kelleher.
I do think that if you're looking at this team, there are positions that we can improve, and goalkeepers one of them. Again, this is a player that has saved us this season. The Bournemouth game, we had no chance to win that. We weren't playing well going forward. We weren't, and he
was
came
brilliant.
He came up with a big save in the Forest game. We should have really dropped points there, dropped more points than we did, and he came and saved us. So I don't want to denigrate him at all. But when I'm looking at positions in our team, we cannot deny that we can improve there, because unfortunately for him this season, he's given away 2 penalties, and that could have been 3.
But he has to improve. He came out on social media and said, "Look, I've got to do better." And we're 10 games in, under a new manager, a new system. I think that we need to sit tight. Maresca's come out and said, we will give goals away like this. And that's on his watch, on his shoulders. And I think we just have to accept that there's going to be moments, there's going to be times when goals given away, but there's also going to be moments that Kweku just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he does improve. He is going to be Chelsea's starting goalkeeper in the Premier League. That is for certain. From now until the end of the season.
It feels like all our chips are on Robert Sanchez this season. Get used to it. It's up to him now, up to the coaching staff, goalkeeping coach, Maresca, the back 4, the midfield, to help him.
Yeah, Enzo Maresca has put his faith in him. So hopefully he gets better and starts to adapt to Enzo Maresca's style. He will be starting in goal on the weekend, and that is Arsenal. A huge game at Stamford Bridge, which I'm hoping we're all going to.
Yes,
no? Yeah, we are. Yes, I love it. A little inside Chelsea reunion at Stamford Bridge on Sunday. I mean,
Frankie's
we'll have a little debrief in Frankie's. Yeah, good shout. I mean, is this, Kweku, a good time to play Arsenal, maybe?
I've just remembered I'm not there. I'm actually working for talkSPORT.
I'll have a drink for you, right?
Literally just
Liv, I'll meet you with Frankie.
Sorry, ask the question again, Liv.
Is this, right now, the way Arsenal are playing, the way we're sort of playing, is it a good time to play them, do you think?
It's never a good time to play Arsenal. When you have that kind of wounded animal conundrum where everybody's writing Arsenal off. They've got Inter Milan this week in the Champions League. They've not been in the best of form. They lost against Bournemouth away from home. They lost poorly on the weekend at St James's Park, one of the poorest Arsenal performances I've seen in a while. But I think it's a very dangerous trap to fall into as a Chelsea fan to say, oh, this is a good time to play Arsenal. Yeah. They're a very good side. We saw them last season at Stamford Bridge where we dominated them. And out of nowhere, we went 2-0 up, and out of nowhere, they got 2 goals back, and we drew a game that we should have won.
Do you remember what happened in that game?
That's Rob Sanchez. I remember.
Yes. To
be fair, it was a worldy finish from Declan Rice. But...
Yeah, but I've not seen that type. That era was so bad. Anyway,
Yeah.
we've done that.
We've done
Sanchez.
that. Moving on. Moving on back to
but,
Arsenal.
But this is an Arsenal team that they're missing something.
Yeah.
And where I look at Arsenal in terms of their weakest part of their team, obviously we know about Odegaard being missing. We don't know if he's going to be back for the game on the weekend. But looking at Arsenal midfield, I don't like the composition of it from their point of view. If you look at Marino, who we're not too sure what he is, Declan Rice, who we're not too sure what he is this season, and then one of the strongest parts of our team is our midfield, the LAVIA and the CAICEDO. It didn't necessarily work too well against Liverpool. It didn't necessarily work to the best of its ability against Man United, but I think against an Arsenal team, that midfield really does work. And so I expect us to go in that game and play as if we want 3 points. I know Arsenal are ostensibly better than Chelsea over the last couple of seasons. They finished ahead of us. But they're going through a bit of a wobble. And it's a Chelsea team that can hurt opposition. Talk about Arsenal's defence, how great they are, how they don't concede many goals. I had Arsenal fans coming up to me and telling me about the 15 goals conceded, they're going to break our record.
Oh.
In recent games, Arsenal can't stop conceding goals. They are leaking goals right now. So I think at Stamford Bridge, this is the opportunity for us to get 3 points against a team that are on the ropes.
When I look at Arsenal, Jace, also that record will never be beaten, by the way. Those fans, I think I saw a tweet and it was like 3 different sets of defensive partnerships. I was like, they've conceded 11 goals already.
Yep.
We're only in October, November now. But
Yeah.
with Arsenal, I look at them and think set pieces and Saka. Is that it?
Kind of feels like it a little bit at the moment, but watching what Newcastle did against them, Arsenal started well. First 10, 15 minutes, Arsenal bossed the game without really hurting Newcastle. What was really evident was the role that Joel Linton and Anthony Gordon played in supporting their wide players, their defensive players. Now, let's assume for the sake of this conversation that Reece James plays and Cucurella is going to play. Cucurella, if he does start, is going to play that inverted fullback almost as a second 8. We're now giving space to Saka, right? So if you're Maresca, you're thinking, right, can I play that way? I'm almost thinking now...
No, he's going to play Reece James.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm almost thinking now, when you think about that, would Reece... Imagine Saka coming up against Reece James. Or would you rather have Colwill coming out as that left centre, or depending on Neto being that support mechanism back when Cucurella goes?
That's a really
It's a really interesting thought, actually, because Saka wants space. What Newcastle did, Joel Linton helped out... fullback. Lewis Hall. Helped him out. Lewis Hall's getting tight, but they come in and they narrowed really tight. On the other side, Anthony Gordon done exactly the same. We've got to nullify that. If you stop Saka, you go a long way to stopping them going forward. What I'm really interested to see what Arteta does is if he plays Partey right back. Because I don't think Partey has been anywhere near as good as what Ben White can do. I expect Ben White to start. Moreno's a problem for me. Yeah. I don't quite know what he brings yet. Rice starts. Does he bring Partey alongside Rice? And I just
They need something in that midfield, don't they? Because
and you think about what CAICEDO and LAVIA can do, the way they can bop it round those little triangles, then Palmer comes short, Jackson comes short. Yeah, that right-hand side, the Cucurella one's really got to be thought about,
Do you know, like, now that I always said, Reece James right back, Mark Cucurella left back, but now you make a very good point. The last player you want on that team, everything comes through Saka. At the moment, it does feel like if Saka's not there, then Arsenal don't win the game. So now I'm maybe thinking he puts Reece James on him.
Yeah.
And then plays Gusto at right back again.
Or does Maresca go into there saying, I'm confident that we're good enough
going forward
to go forward.
Yeah.
I'm going to give, because if Cucurella does that, Saka has a responsibility to help out defensively as well. Yeah. You know, so do you give them more of a problem that way, or do you say to them, right, I know you're a problem, and therefore Gusto starts? Because like I said, I don't think Gusto was bad. Honestly, I don't...
He just needs to improve in those...
If
that's the role he's going to have, and all of that is going to be put on him...
Not that... Naturally, that doesn't come to him in his game. And I think we need to say, I thought he supported as I said, Madueke really well. What about the wide areas? Madueke, Neto, we're still happy with Neto starts, right?
Neto starts,
Madueke?
100%.
That's a great question. That's a very good question, because I think it's been set in stone ever since he scored that hat-trick against Wolves that Madueke starts. But in the last couple of games, we've seen him not tail off, but not be as effective as he's been in the early part of the season. And I look at Madueke, who did come on against Newcastle, and where it's been such a defined A team and B team, when he came on against Newcastle, it made me think, it gave me cause to pause. I was like, okay, is this a signal that maybe his place in the A team is up for grabs? And when you look out wide, Neto's so effective, so quick, so rapid. Brilliant. The pass before the pass that we waxed lyrical about that Cole Palmer played, that ball doesn't get played if it's not Neto making that run on the outside. So he gives us that X factor in terms of being that rapid player out wide. If he stays fit, he's going to be one of the best wingers in the league. Madueke needs to step up his game, because we need help in the forward areas. We know how great Cole Palmer is, but he can't be our only outlet. And I think that Madueke, his position is up for grabs. I know Jadon Sancho has been ill for the last couple of games. He's been missing. But he has got that deftness inside, that ability to play 1-2s with Cole Palmer. And Madueke can bring that as well. But if you look at a position in this side that is up for grabs, obviously we're looking at the fullback areas, and then we're looking at out wide in terms of our attackers as well.
I don't know if we've got like an out-and-out right winger. I mean, maybe Jadon Sancho, obviously he's played on the left predominantly. But I mean, Madueke, I know obviously it's going back a few games, but Liverpool, he had Andy Robertson on toast every single time he went down that right-hand side. And do you think it's really up for grabs that much, in terms of we don't really have another out-and-out right winger that is literally knocking on his door going, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here? Do you think we do?
Well, Pedro Neto is the right winger. We've been playing him on the left, but Pedro Neto is a right winger. At Wolves, he was
that's his best position.
So Pedro Neto on the right, and then who on the...
On the left.
Well, it feels like Sancho. Sancho's been ill. Sancho's not been fit.
Your favourite Mudryk?
And then Mudryk, it feels like the game is too big for him right now. All well and good coming off the bench. So there's little conundrums that he's got to sort out. You might solve one problem, but you create another. You know, and that's why Maresca's paid the big bucks. I trust him to get things right, because largely this season, Maresca's got it right. I'm almost inclined to play Cucurella at left back. And say to Arsenal, we're going to cause you more problems than you're going to cause us. But Lavia needs to have that. He needs to have his head on a swivel. Because once Saka gets over there, you've got to do what they did. You've got Lewis Hall and you've got Joel Linton going down, doubling up.
I don't think I would ever want to be in a position where Chelsea are going into a home game with Arsenal and we're changing what we want to do because of them. We need to be going in with how we think we're best set up, how we think we can win the game, and deal with that as and when it happens.
And let's be completely honest here as well. This is an Arsenal without Martin Odegaard. I remember at their place last season when they turned us over, it was the midfield like you talked about. It was Partey, it was Rice, it was Odegaard. I looked at that that's one.
That triangle.
Oh, it was scary. It was scary. Odegaard might be missing. And where Odegaard plays as well, on that right-hand side, it was Ben White on the right, then you had Odegaard, and you had Bukayo Saka. We couldn't deal with it. A couple of elements of that team could be missing, and we need to take advantage of it. This is an Arsenal team that are vulnerable.
And we're at home.
We're home. And the fans, again, give credit to Chelsea fans this season. We've been criticised over the last couple of seasons for not getting behind the team. But this season at Stamford Bridge, they've been behind the boys. And I expect it to be the same on the weekend. I expect that to be the reason why we're going to get 3 points against Arsenal.
Jace, what do you reckon?
I fancy us. I mean, right now, I fancy us against anyone. We're a tough team to play against. We still leave the back door open. We're still very much a side that will overcommit, and that's part of Maresca's charm. But like I said, if you do that, I watched Arsenal beat Spurs last season, and Spurs overcommitted, left Saka on the left, on the right, cuts inside, I think it was 2-0. You do that, you ain't coming back from that game. So I think you need to be very mindful. Play our way, but at the same time, show respect to what they've got.
Absolutely. Very much looking forward to that Chelsea against Arsenal at Stamford Bridge this weekend. Right, that's it from this week's Inside Chelsea. Thank you very much for your company. And of course, thank you to our panellists, Jason Cundy and Kweku Afari. We will see you next time here on Inside Chelsea. Up the Chelsea.